This video will help you to specifically learn how to format an Excel spreadsheet to conduct a simulation for any number of trials that you would like with respect to the coffee game that we began in class today. Note that the techniques that are shown here can be adopted and applied in a variety of contexts where you need to generate random numbers in a spreadsheet to simulate the probability of a particular event occurring. So let's start off by formatting our sheet as you had done in class. This column, we titled it Week, Wins, Losses. The next column we had accumulated or cumulative cost, followed by the average daily cost. So I'm just going to widen out these column headings so we can get a good look at them. And the work that you had done in class, we looked at weeks 1 through 10. Now, one trick that can be done with Excel, we are welcome to go ahead and type all of these values in, but the beauty of a spreadsheet is in its use of formulas. So let's enter formula. We're going to reference the cell above, A3, and you can see how the reference cell is highlighted. We're going to add 1 to that. That gives us the next week, which is 3. By highlighting that cell A4 and moving into the corner, you can see how the cursor changes its style. We can click and drag to produce any particular set of numbers we want. Now I'm going to reproduce the table we had in class by ending at week 10. When it comes to calculating the number of wins, in a 5-day week, we're going to try to generate random integers between 0 and 5 to show the possible number of wins in the course of a week. And those numbers will be randomly selected by the program. So the function is known as a random integer function. So in Excel, we enter, always with an equal sign, so int, that'll represent integers. We'll open a bracket, and now we're going to enter the difference between the number of wins. So the least value could be 0, and the greatest number would be 5. So the difference there is 5. We multiply that by a function known as rand, which is a random number generator. We provide a set of parentheses, and to that we add 1 to complete the function. Close bracket and enter. And if you look here in the formula bar, we have our function, and it's generated a win of 5. If we do the same thing we did in the week column, we'll click and drag, and you'll notice that a series of random integers have been generated between 0 and 5. If we continue to press enter, or that is to copy and fill repetitively, you'll notice that those values continue to change. Now the only value we're not producing is 0, which is a potential value. So let's go back and modify our formula. Let's take the value of 6, and let's see if we can map that further along to produce a situation where we end up with 0 wins. So again, we're still not producing 0, but we're producing 6. The result of that could very well be from the 1 that's being added on. So through trial and error and experimentation, we'll see, there we go, perfect. We've now found a function that will generate random integers between 0 and 5 to represent the possible number of wins. Okay, So losses is going to correspond to the number of days within each week minus the number of wins. So I can highlight that cell and press enter and 3. By copying and pasting in a fill down mode, we can calculate the difference between 5 and the number of wins that we have here in this column. The accumulated cost, okay, is dependent upon the amount of money that you pay for each particular loss. So in our game, it was $2 per loss. So what we'll do is we'll enter a formula 2 times, so using the asterisk as the multiplication symbol, we're going to multiply that by the value in our column C, in this case cell C2, which is 1, and we should get a value of 0, okay, because we had not lost. If we map that formula all the way through, okay, you can see how we have $4 followed by 4, and it all certainly makes sense as the formula references the number of losses at $2 per loss. Now the only thing that this is not doing, okay, is that it is not calculating the daily cost. So what we really should do is insert a column that's going to provide us our total cost for the day. Okay, and in that column we're going to have the formula that corresponds to those cell values. Okay, the accumulated cost is going to be something entirely different. Okay, so it's going to be a cumulative amount, so meaning that we're going to reference, okay, this particular cell here, because after the first week the total cost or accumulated cost is $6 based on 3 losses. In this cell, what we're going to do is we're going to take the previous cost and add on the daily cost from the following week. Okay, so if we have a look, 2 with a 0 would provide us an accumulated cost of 2. Let's do that once more. So in this cell, we'll take the accumulated cost thus far after 2 weeks, and we'll add the next weekly cost on. And we have 8, which makes sense, given the $8 in this week. I'm just noticing now the header to this is a little inappropriate. It should be a weekly cost. There, that's better. And this would be the accumulated weekly cost. So moving forward, let's see if we can't fill down with this formula. And let's study it to see if that makes sense. Check this one out. So you can see that each formula is referencing the correct number of cells. So last but not least, you're asked to calculate the average daily cost. Okay, that is with each week that goes by. So to calculate the average, what we need to do is take the total accumulated cost at that point in time and divide it by the number of days that have gone by. Well, in this case, the number of days that have gone by in 1 week is 5. So we can see that the average cost in the first week, based on 2 wins and 3 losses, is $1.20. The formula will change somewhat as we move forward. That is, if we want to create a spreadsheet that has a great number of weeks within it. So in this case, we're going to take accumulated cost and we'll divide it by. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an expression that is going to represent the number of days accumulated thus far. So there are 5 days per week, and I'm going to multiply that by the week number. Okay. Okay, so there would have been 10 days that have gone past with an accumulated cost of $10. We should get a value of 1 as the answer. Now in this case it's changed because every time we change a cell, the random number generator creates a new simulation. That is, it runs another trial or a 10-week trial of the experiment. Now with that formula in place, we should be able to fill down. And we'll check our formulas to make sure they're referencing the right cells. And they are. Okay, so what you can see here is that on average per day, it is fluctuating. Okay, but we can see some consistency in the values and that they are hovering around a specific amount. To make this more visual, it would be quite helpful for us to insert a graph. So I'm going to highlight that area. I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to choose a line graph. Okay, so here's our line graph. It's that quick and that easy that shows us the average daily cost over time. You can see a great deal of fluctuation throughout, but as the days progress, we are starting to see some leveling out. As you hypothesized in class, by increasing the number of trials in an experiment, we might be able to level out those fluctuations. So those hills and valleys will rather be minor bumps in the road. So what we'll do is we're going to extend our table. Now notably, every cell has a formula within it. So we should be able to highlight and we should be able to click and drag. So let's go for another, say, 20 trials. Okay, so let's just check our formulas to make sure that they are functioning properly. And yes, it seems as though they are. Good. Now what you notice is the graph is not specific to what we have plotted. It's only showing 1 through 10. So what we'll do is we'll highlight the graph and we'll extend the data that's being graphed. And you can now see that the graph is depicting exactly the trend that we had expected to see. So you can extend this for any number of trials that you want, so you can increase the level of certainty in making predictions in terms of validating other experiments that had fewer trials, testing hypotheses. Okay, so the spreadsheet can become a very valuable tool when you're trying to simulate a particular event.